So we're talking about triangle angle sum theorems, and there are two of them. One of them talks about the angles inside the triangle, and the other one talks about the angles outside of the triangle. So if we look at this first thing, it tells me that EC is parallel to AB. So this line out here, EC, is parallel to AB. And we want to prove that angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 equals 180. Which you probably already know that, but let's write a little proof for it. So the first thing that we do is we always start with our given. So the first thing I'm going to say is EC is parallel, bless you, to AB. And that's given. And then with a proof, there's a couple different ways that you could start it, just depending on what you're trying to say. So I'm trying to say that 1, 2, and 3 equal 180. Well, if I look at this right here, I have this straight line, and we know that a straight line also equals 180. So I want to relate my inside angles to this straight line. So I can say that 4 plus 3 plus 5 equals 180 because they make a straight line. So that's the next thing that we want to say. So we want to say the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180. So 4 plus 3 plus 5 equals 180. And we know that because they make a straight line. And so we can say that that is the definition of let's say a linear pair. I know it's 3, but we defined linear pair the other day. So remember, a linear pair are angles that make a straight line. Okay, so I've got an equation here, 4, 3, 5 equals 180. Well, I'm trying to get 1, 2, 3 equals 180. So I've got the angle 3's in there already. But if I look at angle 4 right here, which angle can I say is congruent to angle 4? Yes, so right here at A, this angle 1. Because what kind of angles, what relationship do 1 and 4 have? Close. Good, alternate interior. So I can say the measure of angle 4 is congruent to, so remember congruent is equal with a squiggly, the measure of angle 1. And we know that because they're alternate interior angles. Actually, we should just say equal, not congruent, but that's okay. Okay, so that takes care of 4. I want 3 there, but how about 5? Which one can I say that 5 is equal to? The angle at B. So angle 2, because what are they? They're also alternate interior. Good. So I can say the measure of angle 5 is equal to the measure of angle 2. Because again, they're alternate interior. Okay, so now I can take the measure of angle 1 and I can plug it in for the measure of angle 4, and I can take the measure of angle 2 and plug it in for the measure of angle 5. So then that'll look like the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. And what's it called when I plug something in for something else? Substitution. Good. And we wrote our first geometry proof. Yay! And like I said, we'll do more later. So we did all of that to say that the sum of the angle measures of a triangle is 180 degrees. Questions? Okay. So let's look at number 1. So number 1, I want to find this missing angle. So I've got 65 and 57, so what could I do to find that missing angle? Good, so we can just do 65 plus 57.
122.
Good, 122. Good, so 180 minus 122. So then that angle is 58 degrees. Good. Question. Good. Alright, 2. I've got the 40 right here. What is that little square? 90. Good.
So that's 130. So it'll be 150. 150.
Yes, good. So we do 90 plus 40. Which gives us 130. And then 180 minus 130. 50. Questions? Alright, how about 3?
That'd be 135. No, it's 135.
135.
And then that would be 145.
So 180 minus 135. Good, it is 45. Very good. Any questions on these 3? So adding to 180. Okay, so our next theorem is called the exterior angle theorem. And so it's talking about when you have an outside angle. So in this picture, 1, 2, and 3 are inside, and 4 is outside. It's an exterior. Okay. So I'm not given anything, but I know that this is a triangle. Why don't I have mine? Oh, we're supposed to write it. Okay. So we're given that it's a triangle ABC. And we want to prove that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 4. And we actually need 5 things for this one. So the first thing that we're given is that it's a triangle. So you're like, duh. But what does that mean about 1, 2, and 3? They equal 180. Good. So we can say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. And we know that because we just proved that, and that's the definition of a triangle. So definition of a triangle is it has 3 sides and its angles add to 180. Okay. Well, if I look at this, what do I know about 3 and 4? What? Good. So they also equal 180 because they're a straight line. So I could say the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 also equals 180 because they're a linear pair. So definition of a linear pair. Excuse me. Okay. Well, if 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 180 and 3 plus 4 equals 180, can I say that the measure of these angles equals the measure of these angles? Yeah, because they both equal 180. So I can say measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4. And this was on our paper the very first day, but we didn't end up using it. But that's called the transitive property. So if you have two things that equal the same thing, you can assume that they equal each other. And that's called transitive property. Well, if I'm looking at this, I'm trying to say that 1 and 2 equals 4. But I still have these 3's here. Well, what would happen if I subtracted the measure of angle 3 from here and subtracted the measure of angle 3 from there? They would both cancel out. So then I could say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 4. And I could say that because of the subtraction property of equality. So there we are with our second proof. Yay! So what that proof just told us is that our two inside angles add up to equal the outside angle. Okay? So it has to be the two angles that are not touching that outside angle. Okay? So that does not include the 3 because it's touching the 4. So it already adds to 180. So 1 plus 2 equals 4. Okay? So the two inside add to be the outside. Okay. So if we look at number 1, here we've got S and T, and they're going to add up to equal that outside U. So I just have to say 70 plus 50 equals the question mark. That's it. So our question mark is 120. That's it. So number 2, same thing. Inside we've got 25 and we've got 80, and they add up to be that outside question mark. Which is what? Good. 105. So then on number 3, a little bit different. So we don't know this inside angle, but I know that U and T is going to add up to this outside V. So I can take question mark plus 50 equals 120.
Good morning. At this time, all students taking the PSAT, please report to the theater at this time. Again, all students who have signed up and registered to take the PSAT, please report to the theater at this time. Thank you.
Good. So if I wanted to solve for that question mark, you could just subtract 50. So then our question mark would equal 70. Questions? Okay.